How's it going, Hail Stalkers? It's lead meteorologist here, John Choquette, and yes, you got that right. It seems like we're doing the same thing again. It is Groundhog Day after all. Bill Murray's not around. We're just doing an abbreviated version of our 2018 hail forecast that we had yesterday. Mainly because the video that we did, obviously we did it live and we did lots of questions and answers, but for re-watching purposes, the video is about an hour long, and I know a lot of you guys who might have missed us yesterday or wanted to go and watch it afterwards. Slogging through an hour of that is a lot. So basically, we're going to condense this down to purely the forecast, and with that, I'm not going to answer any questions here on the video. Feel free to ask them, if you will, if this is your first time watching it. Feel free to ask questions in the comment section below. I believe Frank and Heather are both watching right now. They can type things up for you, and we can answer them after the video is done. That way, we can keep the video pretty short. We have a lot to talk about. We're going to do the 2018 forecast. I'm going to look at potential for some storms possibly on Tuesday, and looking a little bit further into the future as well. Basically, in terms of the winter, I think just going to mention the stupid groundhog. You saw a shower this morning, says 6 more weeks of winter. I'm saying maybe not, but again, what do I know? I'm just a meteorologist and he's a rodent. So anyway, basically our 2018 hail forecast. Here we'll go jumping right down big bullet points here. Compared to 2017, I think we're going to be starting a little bit later. And I'm talking big time outbreaks. Again, we have a thing possible on Tuesday, a little event, but those little storms that, pump out like 10, 15 hail reports, mostly over rural areas. Maybe we get something in the city. That is not what we're talking about. We're talking about a favorable pattern for large scale outbreaks and multiple events happening kind of in a row, and I think that's going to happen in March. Moving forward, we can see a much more balanced peak season compared to last year, especially where we were very front loaded. I think it's going to be a much more peak activity throughout the spring, kind of balanced active season, and the focus on the activity is going to be mostly from pretty much I-35 points eastward towards the Carolinas, and then up north as well. And overall, I think 2018 is expected to be an active year with above average hail across the nation. Now, moving forward to the all-important map that you guys love to see and kind of pinpoint where you are. Basically, with this is, anywhere where it does hail, it most likely will hail this year. This map kind of gives you an idea of compared to the climatological average. So we have the first up, average activity for places like the East Coast and up towards the Great Lakes region, so places like Chicago. I think Chicago is going to be kind of close to a borderline area of active and above average. Above average, again, so we have here upwards in the north central plains, Minneapolis area, for example, above average. And again, I think this might extend towards Chicago just a little bit. And further south as well, across southern Texas, places like Houston, everything above average activity. This is for parts of Texas. Moving forward, average activity for the Front Range region. For those of you guys working in that area, you're probably going, oh man, only average? Well, average for the Front Range means it hails. It hails a lot in the Denver area. Every single year, there's a big storm every single year. I don't think there'll be anything as crazy as that all-timer that happened last May, but I think we'll see more storms in general compared to last year, just the one big storm. I think we'll see 2 or 3 storms of up to 2-inch hail happening in the Denver area, Fort Collins area, Colorado Springs, Cheyenne, that whole Front Range, and that's pretty average, and that happens every single year for the Denver area. Okay, here we go. You see the green, you see below average. A little bit of panic setting in for some folks, I think. We don't usually have below average very often. I think we're going to have it's going to be fairly quiet here in the Texas Panhandle, western Oklahoma, southwestern Kansas. And I'll go a bit more into why we're thinking that in just a moment. And finally, what's this big area that we have empty here? Well, that is where we think the most activity is going to be. So this is usually a pretty active area to begin with. I think this is going to be climatologically much more active than normal, meaning it's going to be a very active area, and this could really, just this amount of storms that may happen just in this area this spring may be what causes our national totals to jump up quite a bit to be above average. Now, we're talking about going over why there's the below average area in the Texas Panhandle. It's basically kind of come down to the dry line and the drought that is really starting to take shape across a lot of these southern and high plains. Past couple of years, starting about 2015, once we got rid of the drought, we had a lot of ample moisture, a lot of good vegetation, a lot of water up there, so it kept the dry air at bay out to the desert by like Albuquerque and stuff. So that made the dry line be pretty much right along the New Mexico-Texas border. Now, that's good for crops and everything. We weren't in a big-time drought. There were very few wildfires. However, it kept all the hailstorms, for those of you who want to see storms in the I-35 corridor, mostly in the Texas Panhandle and western Oklahoma. This was a good pattern for people who like to storm chase, to take pictures of tornadoes and stuff. There are quite a few tornadoes that were in like the Dodge City area and everything, where it was over open land with no trees in the way. Now, moving forward, I think for this year, because we have a very strong drought starting to form, there's going to be a lot more very dry air pushing much further to the east, and that in turn forces the dry line to move much further east for the peak tornado season. And that's why I think most of the hailstorms are now going to be forming further to the east, so places like Oklahoma City, Dallas, Wichita, Tulsa, etc., along the I-35 corridor have a much better chance of seeing storms, while places much further west, it's going to be much harder for that dry line to start to fire off storms back here than up over here. And honestly, I think what it's going to look like, especially through like March, a lot of people in Oklahoma are going to be getting kind of scared because the dry line is going to race past us and storms are going to fire over by like Fayetteville and stuff. So that, again, is something that we're going to be watching and going over as we're expecting for this severe weather season. Now we have our bold predictions. These are the things that we do every single year, of just kind of not as in-depth forecasting wise, but more things we think might happen, but not necessarily have the all the science to back it up. So our first one is, I think 2018 is going to feature a high-end severe weather risk event that will verify the high-risk category in the SPC rankings. So basically, a high risk is the highest possible chance of storms. It usually means a very large outbreak. Think like the 2011 tornado outbreak that happened in Alabama and stuff like that. Those big-time news story outbreaks of tons of hail, tons of tornadoes. I think we'll have one of those that verifies this year. Last year we had about, I think, 3 or 4 high risks, and none of them really kind of took off. I think this year will be the year we break that. The I-35 corridor is going to be hit with a major hailstorm in an area other than the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Now, just from the graphic we had below, explains why we think that's going to happen. The dry line's going to be a lot closer to a lot of major cities, so I think places like Wichita and Oklahoma City have a real shot at seeing storms. And also, I have in quotes, also the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. The past 18 years, 16 out of those 18 years, Dallas has had a major storm, and I think I like those odds. I'm pretty sure Dallas is going to see another big storm again this year. And these are cities that I'm particularly pointing out of what I think will be hit with a major hail event this year. These are entire metro areas, so when I say Oklahoma City, I include places like Norman. So Oklahoma City, I had you on my bold predictions list last year, and you were the only city that we didn't get right, so I'm sticking to my guns. I'm putting it on there again. I think Oklahoma City's luck will probably run out this year. I think we might see a pretty good storm. Nashville, I think, same story. Kansas City, and also Chicago. All you guys, I think that is where we'll see big hail events this year. We'll find out at the end of the season how many of those I got right. And of course, it's a bold strategy. Let's see if it pays off for us. Now moving forward, what about Tuesday? I know if you guys follow us on the What the Hail group that Derek has created, he's made a couple posts about these whispers of something for next week. Well, here is the most up-to-date European model run. I'm sure if you guys pay attention to weather, there's 2 major model suites, computer model forecasting suites that we use. One is the American model, the other is the European model. Typically, the European model is a little bit better, and this one has been very aggressive for having storms form. This is on Tuesday evening. Have a pretty intense trough kicking out, and we need big troughs to bring up that moisture from the Gulf, and it looks like we might have a decent chance for some storms on as far north as Tulsa, all the way down to like the Austin area, and places east towards like Shreveport and Little Rock and Fayetteville and stuff like that. So we will be watching this very carefully. Obviously on Monday for our 12 p.m. forecast, we'll be going way more in depth with this, and I'll also have a whole weekend of just details being ironed out. I'm not saying that there's going to be crazy storms. I'm just telling you that there is a chance that there will be some storms on Tuesday possibly, and again, we'll be keeping a very close eye on that. Over the weekend, we'll see how things develop, and we'll see if the European model is kind of out to lunch for how aggressive it's being, or if the American model decides to get on board with the European model and says, yeah, no, this actually is going to be a pretty solid little event, and then at that point we will really kind of go to town with our forecast on Monday. So tune in on Monday at 12 p.m. here on Facebook or on YouTube or Live Weather Center on our website, and possibly also on Periscope. We will be going much more in detail about that possibility on Tuesday. Now, looking forward even further ahead from just next week of potential of a little bit of event, we've been watching going into when that pattern is going to change. When is storm season going to get going? When's winter going to finally get out of here and we can actually see some real storms? This was the not the most recent European weeklies. So the European model puts out once a week long-term forecast. Just gives you the basic idea of what is to be expected. So these are very broad pattern-based things. I know for you guys it's just blues and reds on a map, but basically this shows the troughing and ridging across the nation with the jet stream, and that is, if we can just kind of see what's going on there, that can tell a much grander story of like what we're expecting. And what we're looking at right now is you see this little blue blob here in our most active region. That's the early signs of a pattern favoring lots of severe weather going into March. And the more up-to-date version of this that came out this morning actually has February not being as cold as what was being forecast before, and also having this being the first of a series of events. So it's very possible that once we could go into storm season like a lion in March and into April. But again, this is very far out. This is just kind of looking ahead, seeing what we're expecting, and just showing you guys what we are looking at and expecting, giving you a timeline of when we think the real meat of like storms are going to start getting going. Finally, don't miss our updates. Set up notifications on our app. Download our app. If you guys are watching us on Facebook, our app's on the App Store and it's on Google Play. Yeah, that's the name of the store for Android. Google Play in the App Store. You can find us as a free app. And then you can go through and go to your notification settings on our website on hailtrace.com. Go to the notification options, notification settings. You're going to see a whole ton of options here. And you can just kind of turn on and turn off where you want notifications being sent from. So if you just want notifications for the Dallas area, you can hit the Dallas area. If you want them for all of Texas, you can hit Texas. You want them for Philadelphia for some reason as well, you can do that as well. Or you can want the whole nation. We have one for all states, and we even have, you can turn on alerts for Canada or Australia if you even want to. Click on those. And finally, your method of notifications. You can do emails, you can do on your desktop computer, and you can do push notifications to your phone. That's the one I recommend the most, push notifications on your phone. Chances are you're on your smartphone a lot, and it helps to have those notifications come in. And that will give you all the alerts that we had on previously on our text messaging service. It's now exclusively going to be on our push notifications. So things such as golf ball size hail or larger in a population of 10,000 or more, if we're mapping in a certain state, if we have a new 2-star map or larger available for purchase, and if we have any other special things like we're going to be live or we have a forecast up or whatever, will all be put through this system here. Now make sure you follow us on Facebook and make sure you have it so you're set to see us first. Again, I'm just going to keep pushing this point down that Facebook has been changing the algorithm quite a bit, and it makes it so Hail Trace doesn't show up as often on your newsfeed, and you guys want to get those sweet hail updates. So you got to go and click on the follow button and see first, and that way we pop up at the very top of your newsfeed, so you can see my smiling face every single day, and hopefully you can see our live streams if we're going to be streaming about a big storm moving through a city or just a exciting forecast. Finally, next week is the International Roofing Expo in New Orleans. Derek, Brandon, and Frank are going to be there at a booth at Hail Trace. It's going to be booth number 2321. I believe it's in like the metals section or something. So check us out there. We'll be there from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on the 6th, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on the 7th, and 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. on the 8th. And of course, on the evenings of the 6th and the 7th, I'm sure we'll be at Hail Trace will be at various events, and you can talk to Derek or Frank or Brandon and just say hi and everything about that. So that is our much abbreviated 2018 hail forecast. Again, leave a comment or question in the video below. Share this video. If you tried sharing the one yesterday and it was like an hour long and people were like, God, it's too long, I'm going to watch that. Share this one and get right to the point. We just went straight to the forecast. None of the none of the fluff at the beginning. So give us a share, and obviously also follow and like our page, and tune in every weekday, Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Central Time, 1 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Mountain Time for our live forecasts. If there is a forecast, we will have a forecast on Monday, so be sure to tune in at 12 p.m. on Monday for that, to see if we can possibly get a halfway decent event here in February. Otherwise, I'm lead meteorologist John Choquette, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day and a wonderful weekend.